What I love about special effects is that it gives you full creative freedom in whatever project you're planning on doing. It's kind of like having a blank canvas. If you imagine it, you can create it. The only thing that it's limiting you is what your imagination physically is limiting you and your actual skill. But with art, you can learn anything and then adapt what you learned to your project, making whatever you're imagining just that much better. And special effects in videography is no different. You just gotta need to learn certain things in order to make your vision a reality. And I make a lot of different types of shorts on YouTube and TikTok. And one of my favorite clips, which is right here, is of a ring light going behind my dog, and it transitions into this dynamic scene of shakiness and, you know, smoke overlay with beautiful highlights on the dog's fur as the ring light comes around the neck. And what I love about it is just the feel of it, because it's dynamic. And it also utilizes a technique that I learned a couple years back when I was learning how to use After Effects, of creating a dynamic sequence from scratch. And that dynamic sequence was making a smoke overlay. And it's super easy, that it doesn't take very many resources on a computer to create or generate, and that you can apply it to a multitude of different videos and different types of scenes to make them much more dynamic, and changes the emotional context of whatever you're trying to make. And that's the beauty of it. So what we're going to do is that we're going to jump into After Effects. I'm going to show you how to make that smoke overlay. And the best part is it's only 2 layers, a background and the effect itself. And so it's not going to overload your computer like some green screening or motion tracking can do, because while I may love doing special effects, my computer does not. In fact, it will lag heavily when I try to do any green screen footage, which is why I'm limiting myself on that kind of footage. But if it can handle this kind of smoke footage with relative ease and rendered within, like, say 30 seconds, most people's computers can do the same thing too. You don't need a high-end computer to do a lot of special effects. You just gotta watch out how many layers you gotta put in when you're working with After Effects. And I mean, After Effects is already an intensive program. So let's hop into After Effects right now, and let's start this tutorial on how to make a smoke overlay that you can put into any video. Alright, with After Effects open, go to Composition, New Composition, or Control N, and then rename your project to whatever you want. In this case, it's going to be Smoke CGI. Set your dimensions of your project to whatever you want. In this case, I'm going to 1920 by 1080, and set your background to black. Next, you want to create a solid layer. You can do this by going to Layer, New, and Solid. Rename this layer as whatever you want. Here I'm going to go as Background, or BG. Make sure that your dimensions are the same, in this case 1920 by 1080, and then set your background to black. You can tell this by hitting all zeros, and your hex code is also all zeros. Click OK, and then click OK. Next, you want to duplicate that background. Make sure it's selected. Then you want to go to Edit, then Duplicate, or Control D. Now you can rename that layer by making sure it's selected, hit Enter, and then rename it to whatever you want for your organization. In this case, it's going to be Fractal Noise, because that's the effect we're going to use. Now with that layer selected, you want to go to Effect, Noise and Grain, and then Fractal Noise. Now go find your effects panel and then look for contrast within that list. You can adjust this to whatever your preference is, but for this project, I'm going to adjust it to about 75. Now we're going to adjust the transform properties of this project. Expand it, and then you see the uniform scaling. Make sure that is unticked. This allows you to adjust the width and the height independently. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the width to 400 and then the height to 250. All right, now on that same list, look for evolution. You can easily find this with that little circle with a line that you can adjust in a circle. So for this purpose, we're going to prepare for animation. So press the last 3 digits, type in 100. And the next thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to animate it. You can do this by holding Alt, then left clicking on the stopwatch. And that brings up an expression bar that you can type in. We're going to type in time, asterisk, 150. One thing to keep in mind is that expressions are indeed case sensitive. So if you happen to have a habit of capitalizing your T, you'll come up with this error. So when you ever see this error or this yellow triangle, double check your expressions to make sure that you don't have anything capitalized that it should not be. In this case here, just lowercase that T and it should work just fine. Now on your effects panel, look for offset turbulence. You can do it. Now we have to write an expression for this value. Go ahead and Alt click the stopwatch on offset turbulence and then enter the following expression. You need to have square bracket open, value, square bracket open, 0, square bracket closed, plus time, asterisk, 100, comma, value, square bracket open, 1, square bracket closed, minus or dash, time, asterisk, 20, square bracket closed. And don't worry, we're almost done. Now we gotta go and find complexity on that effects panel and adjust that to its maximum setting of 20. It won't go any higher than that. Now you can go ahead and close your effects panel because we won't need it no more, and then go down to your layers panel and you can minimize all the unneeded effects panels and then go down to transform, go to opacity and then adjust it to say about 20% so that we can see through the clouds that you have just made. Now we need to create a mask so you can adjust it to whatever your scene is going to be. So right click on that layer, click mask, then new mask or control shift and N. Now you'll have a outline of the masks that you want to use and you can adjust it by holding it or dragging it. You can click off screen if you want to start adjusting each panel or each point individually. You can also add new points by clicking on the pen on your tool panel, and you can adjust Bezier curves, which are pretty much they allow you to create curves within that mask itself. So here I go and click the pen, click somewhere in the middle of the line, and now I have a Bezier curve, and you can see I can have all these different curves which can create more of a fluid mask. Now just adjust your mask to however your project feels fit for what you plan on having a smoke overlay. This gives you a lot of customization in terms of the fluidity, but now you'll have a lot of these hard edges. So what you can do is get rid of them by feathering it. So go to your layers panel, expand your masks as much as you can till you find feather. Then adjust your feather to whatever degree that you want. In this case, I put it about 500 pixels, which gives me a nice deep feather throughout. And then the only thing you got left to do is test your mask or test your effect to see how it looks by going to your preview panel, pressing play, and then you can see how that entire effect animates. And if you are satisfied with it, then you can feel free to go ahead and export your file by going to File and then hitting Export. And then go to Render Queue. This puts up the Render Queue panel, and then make sure your settings are set to lossless, and then just hit Export. And then your file is ready to go after it gets done rendering. Now the easiest way to incorporate this footage into your next clip is to use blending modes. All video editing software has blending modes of some type, maybe with different names, but they have the same function. In After Effects and Premiere Pro, you have Add and Screen, which is perfect for those black screen special effects you just rendered. Multiply is great for those that have a white background. But if you use these blending modes, it'll automatically take out the background, but keep the foreground active on your footage. So that way you can have that nice smoke overlay, or if you're using fire or any other type of alpha element. If you're more advanced, you can use alpha channel. Render that footage as an alpha channel. It gets rid of the black background but keeps that foreground, so essentially anything that's black becomes transparent and makes the keying that much cleaner. But if you're a beginner, just use blending modes. Works just as fine, looks just as great, and maybe in some next videos I'll talk about more about like luma key, advanced keying, as well as making an alpha channel out of certain types of footages. So if you like this video, please subscribe, like, leave a comment, let me know what you think of this video, or if you have any ideas what I can put out there, feel free. So I'll see you in the next video.